Russia's invasion of Ukraine enters its second year. Tens of thousands of people have been killed on both sides, while the lives of millions of Ukrainians have been affected. In this week's CNA Correspondent, we take a closer look at the horror and devastation caused by the conflict, the volunteers fighting to keep Ukraine going, and how ordinary Ukrainians have been coping. February 24th was the first anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, so we decided to head there. But flying to Ukraine wasn't a possibility, as its airspace has been closed since the war started. So our journey started in Poland. First, from Warsaw to Lviv in western Ukraine. At first glance, the city looks normal. Until you look more closely, protection from shelling.
I'm just, I think, angry, and I'm angry because our life is not predictable and not controllable, you know, and it's a lot of stress because of that. So we never know about what Russian will do, like next week.
34-year-old Christina is a mother of two. Her husband was an IT manager before the war, and now he's joined the Ukrainian army and is fighting in eastern Ukraine. As for her, she's been doing volunteer work since the war started, raising money to buy ammunition for her husband's unit.
I am afraid to have a siren at night, and they were attacks, I think, 2 days ago at night. And I'm not afraid to be in public place during sirens and in public shelters. So it very depends, you know, it's always like a wave. Your feeling of comfort and safety, you just go up and go down. It's very different.
This even though Lviv has been regarded as a safe haven for most of the war. It's located just an hour's drive away from the Polish border, and though it's also come under Russian attacks, it's been less frequent than in Kyiv. So we decided to head there. It's just 1 hour's drive to Kyiv. So far it's been peaceful, but we'll see what we get in Kyiv. The journey in was smooth, and the city looked calm, even peaceful. But the appearance of normality is easily shattered. This office building was struck by a Russian missile, with the blast wave affecting nearby buildings. And in this building, families were reportedly asleep when disaster struck. And across the city, reminders that the country remains at war, as air raid sirens sounded almost daily. Ukrainian men of military age have been barred from leaving the country, but even so, an estimated 8 million Ukrainians have left since the war started. Joanna Maximan Kodovahich, however, has decided to stay put with her husband, even as she sent her 3 children aged between 10 and 23 to Barcelona in Spain for safety.
Because our apartment in Kyiv is very close to power plant, and 2 times we had missile attacks in 350 meters from our house and in 400 meters from our house.
So Jana now shuttles between Spain and Ukraine to visit her children, while trying to avoid fear from running her life.
Of course I'm afraid, you know, because you understand that in one moment everything can just disappear. Your life can be finished in one moment. But it needs to cope somehow with these obstacles. We have to be here to be united and to do the best what we can do if we are not on the front line. So to help to our army, to our people who are on the front line. And to be honest, our soldiers, it's my neighbors, my friends, so not people who didn't thought that they will join army. Yeah, it's people, just doctors, teachers, I don't know, people, just ordinary people.
Here.
34-year-old Bogdan Shapnenko is one of them. He was a researcher before the war and is serving as an infantryman now.
Here we have the center.
He says he had no other choice but to defend his country.
So Russians came to kill us, all of us, and I have no choice. Only one thing I was able to do, to go to the army and protect my country, my home. I really understand what is really important for me and what is really not important. Very easy to lose the life. So we have to understand that every day for us could be or can be the last, because we have no any chance to stay alive.
Former journalist Lesia Ganjatu has decided to step up, swapping her pants for military fatigues. She is now a drone pilot with the Kyiv Territorial Defense Forces.
I just began to train in the army and never piloted drones before the war. And as for me, it's a big challenge, because it's very difficult to study something new and very new, and then you have no other previous experience to do.
But it's not just Ukrainians who are helping with the war effort, and not just militarily. Amara Mojekwu is a doctor from Nigeria. She's lived in Ukraine for 13 years. And when the war started, she decided to stay on to help those in need by prescribing medicine and helping people to stay off the streets.
It's normal human tendency to want to run away when there's danger. But I think when the war started and I was with a lot of children in the bunkers, it was really, really bad, and I just thought to myself, this is time to help as many people as I can, so I couldn't just leave them behind.
It's been more than a year since the war started, and no one here is untouched by the war. Bucha, one of the first cities captured by Russian forces at the start of the war, and located just a 40-minute drive away from Kyiv, underlined the threat it would have posed to the capital city if the Russians managed to push on from here. This bridge was destroyed by the Ukrainians to stop the Russians from advancing. And not only were they able to do that, they also managed to recapture the town about a month later. Today, Bucha is safely in Ukrainian hands, and rebuilding is underway everywhere. But the scars of the brief Russian occupation remain. Ukrainian officials say 1,700 people were killed and 9,000 war crimes were committed here. And many of the victims were reportedly executed in cold blood. But Russia claims these pictures were staged as part of a crude attempt to tarnish its reputation. Though locals here say they have no doubt who committed the crimes.
Не вважаю, що вони люди. Так не можна робити. Скільки вони тут горя в Бучі поробили, здівались над дітками маленькими. Ну тут страшний суд був, звісно, розказували, то це взагалі не можна перенести. Понімаєте, що вони робили? Вони садісти, чи я не знаю, як їх назвати. Нема такого слова, не підібрати, щоб їх назвати. Не знаю.
69-year-old Svetlana Selina was at work last year when someone told her the war had started. It wasn't long before the area she lived in was shelled and then captured by Russian forces. She and her family quickly rushed to a nearby shelter where they sought refuge for a few days.
Жили нормально, наче брати були. Я колись у Москву хороші времена їздила до Москви, нормально було. А зараз я не знаю. Не знаю, що це за Путін. Не віриться, що такі люди є на світі, розумієте? Не знаю. Дуже тяжко, дуже це перенести, дуже тяжко. Во-первых, я дуже нервно стала, у мене в голові тільки ця війна і все. Я спати не можу, спокійно не можу.
Svetlana's house sits just around the corner from where the starkest images emerged after the Russian withdrawal from the area. It's where dead civilians were found with gunshots to the head and chest. And a short drive away, an excavated mass grave site lies just behind the St. Andrew's Orthodox Church. Authorities say 116 bodies were found in this site.
It's impossible to understand the Russian soldiers. Why you shooting on civils? I don't understand it. Still, I can't understand. You want to occupy of Ukraine, okay? But why you shoot of civils? 1 year left, but I still don't understand it. For example, my workers who make a renovation my house, they live in Bucha, and they live during occupation in Bucha. And some soldiers come to him and for the start of this, and want to shoot them. They was 3. 1 woman and 2 men, and they want to shoot them, and he call your boss, I don't know who, what I have to do, shoot them or still live. They okay, don't shoot. You know, it's crazy. It's this decision of 1 soldier who can live, who can't live.
40-year-old Andriy Levenchuk used to run a travel agency before the war. When the Russians captured Bucha, he helped to evacuate people through Irpin to safer areas.
Through this bridge, it is destroyed bridge, evacuated a lot of people from Bucha, Irpin and Gostomel. It's only one way to evacuate it from there to safe territory.
And when Bucha was liberated, he helped to transport the dead.
Before the war, I never touched a dead body, you know. And in this war, when we drive, I am drive on the street of Irpin, and I see somebody on the road, directly on the road. I don't think about it's terrible, it's died. I just took him to the car, put it in the car, and go here, because is it people, you know, is it man in what? Yes, he's died for now, but they have for him maybe wait for families, you know, families will wait for him.
But though Bucha has become synonymous with horror, authorities say they also want to move on while holding Russia accountable for what happened here.
We don't want to be Bucha just the city of tragedy. We want to become the city of Ukrainian success and Ukrainian rebuilding. So we are rebuilding to show that Bucha is a live city, not the empty city, the city of dead bodies. We want to punish every killer who did these crimes here in Bucha. And also we want to punish those who gave the orders and those who are sitting in Kremlin and decided to bring troops here on the territory of Ukraine. That's the aim of, and that's the biggest wish of every Bucha citizens. We want to punish every killer according to the international law.
The International Criminal Court has opened an investigation into possible Russian war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide in Ukraine. It's also issued an arrest warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin over the forced deportation of Ukrainian children. But Russia has rejected the ICC's decision, and as long as Mr. Putin remains in Russia or in friendly nations, he faces no risk of being arrested. Poland, a country on Ukraine's western flank famous for its historical landmarks and nature. And today, a top destination for Ukrainians fleeing the war in the country. It's estimated that more than 9 million Ukrainians entered Poland in the first 3 months of the war. Some have returned home, others have moved on to other countries, but many have also remained here in Poland. According to estimates from the Polish border guard, around 1.5 million Ukrainians are still here. 45-year-old car mechanic Dmitry is one of them. He hails from the eastern city of Mariupol, which is now occupied by Russian forces. A city which it says looks like hell now. He's now trying to get papers to stay in Krakow with his wife and 10-year-old daughter.
It's difficult to explain you because you never pass in that kind of life, you know, but it's something like shock. It's something, it's like, I'm feeling now it's like not a person, like animal, you know what I mean? They steal my ambition, my heart. This is the most important, how I'm feeling in the bed in the moment, you know what I mean?
Like Dmitry, many Ukrainians are now stuck in limbo. And dozens of NGOs have sprung up in Poland to prevent the refugee crisis from becoming a humanitarian disaster. Wolno Nam is one of them. It set up this hostel 2 days after the war started. And it now houses about 200 Ukrainian refugees, mostly women and children, at any one time.
They didn't know what to do, so that was our first goal, was to give them the peace and to give them the place to stay. There were so many. There were like hundreds, because at the beginning this building was we focused more on it was like the transfer place. So they stay for 2-3 nights, and they were on the way somewhere to the west, basically. And now most our inhabitants are here for months. We are trying to support them in being more independent, in finding the job, and also to support these women who are alone here to take care of their children while they are working.
Former teacher Olga Vovchenko is one of the hostel's residents. She and her daughter left Zaporizhzhia in southeastern Ukraine 2 weeks after the war started. But her husband and son are still in Ukraine, as men of military age are barred from leaving the country.
That is my bed, and that is my daughter's bed.
Zaporizhzhia is not far from Energodar. This is the place where a nuclear power station is. There are a lot of Russians, there are military men, and they are threatening our city, shelling from that place, bombing Ukraine from that place. That's why it's dangerous. Every day I woke up and call my husband to find out what is happening there, because I'm afraid for their lives.
But unlike most of the other refugees living here, Olga is Russian. She only moved to Ukraine when she got married, and she's lived there for about 20 years. The rest of her family, however, are still in Russia, and she says she can't communicate with most of them anymore.
A part of my family lives in Russia, but when all that began, my relatives couldn't understand anything. They didn't know what was happening, they couldn't believe us, and we quarreled with all our relatives who live there. But I feel that they don't think that they are guilty up to the end. Because, you see, propaganda is working every day, and they believe this propaganda, because this propaganda is washing out their brains. One sister lives in Moscow, and in Moscow, you see, the propaganda is very strong, and she says that it's good that the Russian army is fighting fascists in Ukraine.
Today, reports suggest that some 70% of Ukrainian refugees in Poland are estimated to be working. This after all EU member states implemented a temporary protection directive allowing Ukrainian refugees to legally live and work across the European Union. And many like 34-year-old Valentina Rychikova are now trying to rebuild their lives in Poland. Last June, about 3 months after they arrived in Krakow, she and her sister decided to rent this small workshop so they can run a textile business. While it helps to pay the bills, it's a far cry from the textile production firm they operated for years in Kyiv.
When we leave Kyiv, we taken just one machine, and we decide we can start working like Kyiv.
This as they slowly come to terms with the fact that returning to Ukraine may not be possible in the near future.
Now I think it's not safe because I have son. For me, it's very important to stay my son in a very peaceful place.
Like Valentina, 33-year-old Nia Nikol also says she can't return to Ukraine just yet. Her 4-year-old daughter Yeva suffers from cerebral palsy and epilepsy. And keeping her safe takes priority above all things.
Because we don't have any shelters for people with disability in Ukraine, and also we have a problem with electricity. It's impossible with children with disabilities to stay in Ukraine.
But Nia also realizes that the longer she stays outside Ukraine, the harder the readjustment will be when she returns eventually.
It's hard to understand that when I come back to Ukraine, we will have a lot of problems because people who was outside all this time, they will be in another mood that people who stay in Ukraine all this time. So we will have a big gap in our behaviors, attitudes, missions, visions, everything.
But this will just be one more thing Ukrainians have to overcome. Over the past year, they have lived through air raids, shelling, power cuts, and family separations. And collectively, through their endurance and sacrifices, they've dispelled the notion put forth by Russian President Vladimir Putin that Ukraine is not a real country and merely a part of Russia.